Commencing Atlas System Suit Initialization. Life support systems activated. Shield kinetic system online. Scanner damaged. Repair required. Aerial propulsion jetpack online. Multi-tool and mining laser attachment operational. User initialization sequence complete.
Hello, Forecaster here again, and we are back for Detour number 2. And this is No Man's Sky, a game that has received a lot of fire from a lot of people. Now, I'm going into this as somebody who didn't pay much attention to the game while it was being developed. I saw a few of the videos that were released, I saw the screenshots, but beyond that, I didn't really consider it. I did as I usually do, I wait until it comes out, and then I look at it for what it is and not what it was supposed to be. And unfortunately, despite having no expectations, it turned out to be a disappointment for a number of reasons that I'm going to go through in this video. And these points may coincide with others who have looked at this game, but these reasons are mine and mine alone. I haven't really looked at other videos about this game. I've just played it myself and formed my own opinions, and I have not backed the game or anything like that either. So, No Man's Sky. So, one of the issues with the game is how it looks, and the most glaring issue is with the transitions when you approach a planet, which you will be able to see a few examples of here. The fade in, especially the grainy kind, looks really bad, and the terrain, as you can see, changes significantly from the spherical planetary texture to the actual terrain. And then it changes over a couple more sweeps as you approach, as more detail pops in, which I suppose is a necessity, but the initial transition could probably have been done a lot better, especially when you can see like this, it flashes in this blocky kind of way. And even with this, the game doesn't run very well. It runs, the frame rate was usually not particularly stable, and after about 2 hours and 20 minutes it completely tanked and sat at below 10, where the game was pretty much unplayable, although I persevered for a while longer to see if it would improve, but it didn't, so I probably had to restart it to fix that, which is not a good thing, of course. So, another thing that I feel is a problem with this game is how it seems to artificially slow itself down. And I'm not a fan of games that do that, and what I mean is how it has elements in it that don't feel like they need to be there, that don't add anything except time, waiting. And one of those things is the interface, which, if you've tried the game, you might have noticed that you need to hold every button down for about a second for it to work. And I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that is, but it feels wrong to me. And it just introduces a lot of tiny um, waiting periods, and those will add up. And it also makes the interface feel slow and unresponsive to me. I would have much preferred if the response from the interface would have been instant. And there are some other factors that add to this as well, beyond the interface. And one of those is the stamina limitation, which, when you sprint, as in a lot of games, you will eventually run out of stamina, which will force you to slow down to the normal running speed. And especially at this point in the game, which is in the beginning, where this footage is, you are going to need to do a bunch of running to collect the resources to fix your ship. And this slows the game down significantly for no particular reason. And of course, later in the game, you'll be able to upgrade this way, but I feel that it doesn't add anything to be, so it really shouldn't be there to begin with. So another way the game fails for me is with how it tries to be cinematic at times. And this was evident in the intro, which was pretty long. And I wouldn't mind if the cinematic segments were skippable, or at least didn't interrupt gameplay. Now, the intro doesn't need to do that. It would be nice if it was skippable, but you can't really have gameplay during it, obviously. But as we see in this clip, even the milestone cinematic segments interrupt gameplay, in this case by preventing me from actually entering my ship. And you'll see that you probably saw that the interact button that usually floats on the ship was missing. And I tried holding E anyway, and nothing happened. And I don't like when games do that. You could easily show me the milestone notification at the top or to the side and not have it interrupt the gameplay. And they chose not to do that, which is a big minus for me. Now, for me, unfortunately, this game lacks a lot of depth. It's a big game, no doubt. There's a big universe to travel around in, but there aren't really many unique things you can do in it. You have a set of buildings to explore, but they pretty quickly become the same. There are some ruins, you have the outposts, you have the manufacturing plants, and you can find blueprints for technologies, but eventually you will start finding ones you already have, and you will even be offered to buy technologies from aliens, and it will turn out that you already know them, which is another silly thing this game does. You pay for something that you already have, which you wouldn't do if given the option. Like, if you were told that you already know this technology, you wouldn't buy it, even if it was cheap. But you are pretty much forced to take a chance that it is something new, and that chance becomes smaller and smaller as you discover all of the technologies in the game. And the game has kind of a story, I guess. I didn't play it long enough to actually catch the story, but you basically have an objective to go to the core of the galaxy. And from what I've seen, going there won't actually do anything. You get a cinematic zoom out from the core to the galaxy, and then eventually you pop back into your character and you get to continue exploring. And I don't think it matters how you get there, which of these paths you follow. But I guess it might be more about the journey than the destination in this case. But unfortunately, the game itself makes this journey unappealing to me because of the issues I've discussed. The simple fact that you have a destination, in this case, doesn't make me want to make the journey. And while it was interesting for a while to explore a planet and find some things, the game is just a lot of traveling. And by that I mean that the game has a tendency to tell you where things are. You aren't really discovering or finding things on your own. You're just traveling to them. You have when you find an outpost, you have ways there to get other locations revealed, and then you just go there. You have question marks that tell you there's something in a direction and how far away it is, and then you go there and you discover it. And I would rather have had them implement mechanics that actually allow you to find things on your own, that make it feel like you're actually finding things. And I think Elite does a better job at this with its with its planetary exploration in Horizons, where from orbit you if your ship is flying at a certain height, you will have these circles appear on your scanner, and they will indicate that there is something of interest in that area. You land somewhere in the circle, leave on your SRV, and then you have the SRV surface scanner, which will show you signatures, but it doesn't tell you what it is or exactly where it is. So you're going to have to pinpoint the location yourself, and it's a lot more satisfying to me to have to actually track the thing down. And maybe it's not what I was looking for or what I was hoping for. Like sometimes you can find a crashed ship, which of course would be pretty exciting, but those are rare, and actually finding one of those is pretty unlikely. Here I find some kind of monument, or a ruin perhaps. I'm not entirely sure what it was, but it turned out to be a puzzle, which I don't actually remember what the question was, but we'll see. I'm going to let this play out, and then I'm going to end the video because I don't really have much more to say about this game. I've talked about what I wanted to, talked about my grievances. I'm not saying the game is terrible for everybody and nobody should play it, of course. I'm just saying that I don't like it. If you like it, you should definitely continue playing it. If you're considering buying it, you should take what I've said into account. But if you still think it is, it might appeal to you, you should definitely try it. And of course, if you buy it on Steam, you'll always have the refund period to change your mind. So, at this monolith, I suppose, I got 3 choices, and I had no indication of what the correct choice was. I chose the passive one, of course, and it turns out to have been the right one. And as a reward, I got some things. I got a standing increase, which I have no idea what it's actually for. Learned a random word, and I haven't talked about the language system a lot, but it seems kind of pointless to me. From what I've observed, you will see one of the words regardless of the language, and this comes into play when you talk to aliens on stations. Some of them will want something from you, and a word will be highlighted that will indicate what that is. And from what I've been able to see, even though you haven't discovered any words for that language, that word is going to be highlighted anyway and translated anyway. And it basically tells you all you need to know what to give them. Now, maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I accidentally or had already discovered those words without realizing it. But from what I could tell, that is how it worked, and that seemed just weird to me that the language thing doesn't actually come into play. So, in closing, I also want to quickly mention the ship flying in the and the combat. So the ship flying is very arcadey, which is not bad in and of itself, but the way that it's done in this game, mostly that you fly to the surface of the planet, it just feels weird, and it doesn't make it better that it makes it very hard to see where you're about to land. It makes it difficult to land on landing pads, planets, and such, which certain bases have. And the ship combat is very basic, and which is fine, really, but from what I experienced, when your shield goes down, you have to recharge it like every other piece of equipment in your inventory. And doing that in the middle of combat was awful, because while you were doing that, trying to look around the inventory as quickly as possible, you were still being shot by enemies. And I had to do that several times during certain combat scenarios, which is a pain. It was pretty awful. And I did not like it. And it seemed that when your hull gets low, you fix it by landing on a station or on a planet base. Or you just die and respawn at a nearby station, and then you can fly back to where you died and we come back to this thing where there aren't any tricks in this game. You don't lose anything, and I just don't feel worth playing it, so I'm not going to continue playing it. About 2 hours I spent on it for this video is going to end. And like I said, if you like it, of course if you are interested by the game, you should probably try it out, taking the things I've said into account, of course, but don't rely on them on their own. So, with that, I will see you in the next video.